Hello, I thought today we could take a look at the 10 Paramis. So these are the 10 spiritual qualities that someone is supposed to have to become enlightened or to become a Buddha. And the idea is that if somebody's Paramis are not elevated to a certain level, then they cannot really do anything except work on their Paramis and in this life and future lives. So one Parami might be full, other Paramis might need a lot of work. So it's only when all 10 have reached a certain level of completeness that somebody is said to be in a position to really have a chance at enlightenment. And we might see the Paramis as an example of why sometimes people who are inspired to pursue the holy life, after a while seem to have their enthusiasm damped, because although they still believe very, very deeply, their experience is that they are unable to reach the necessary level of these spiritual virtues in order to progress substantially. And so people who became monks sometimes disrobe, and people who are lay people who are very enthusiastic become less enthusiastic. So obviously 10, it's quite a lot. So there are 10 of these spiritual qualities, and they all need to have reached a certain point, as I say, in order for enlightenment or Buddhahood to be achieved. What are they? So the first one is generosity, or dana in Pali. So generosity in most of the Buddhist countries, this is the essential quality that the people have, really. They give to the sasana, they give the food to the monks, they also build monasteries, they give land for the temples, they buy tickets for traveling monks and so on and so forth. So it's a very essential thing in order for the dispensation to continue. In itself, however, it's probably, well, it's less important than virtue and less important than meditation. So one would hope that somebody who is very generous would later also decide to keep the precepts and also to meditate. But yeah, dana or generosity, it's incredibly important. And many people who may be advanced in other ways, maybe intellectually, maybe they understand the teaching, so on and so forth, but they're not very generous. So they're in the same position. They need to go back and increase their parami of generosity. So very important. This is a very important quality. And it needs to have reached a certain level, like all the other paramis. So if you're good at everything else, but you're mean-natured, then you still have a lot of work to do. The second one, as I alluded to, is virtue, or sila. So once you've been generous, then you need to move on to the next level and show that you are an ethical person. And this means keeping the 5 precepts for a lay person, 8 precepts for people living in monasteries, or 10 precepts for novice monks, and 227 precepts for the full monks. So the idea of this is that it's a good base for everything else. Really, you're not going to get into too much trouble if you're keeping the precepts. And if you think that you can meditate and you can be generous and you can do these other things, but you're not ready to keep the precepts, then that won't work. The precepts, the ethics of Buddhism, is the fundamental base on which everything else is built, really. So you need to keep the precepts, and they can be quite hard to keep. No killing also includes no spraying around to kill insects, for example. No lying means just that, no lying. So no white lies, no intoxicants. It's not just about maybe 3 months during the Vasa of not drinking. You have to not drink at all. So these are not easy things to do. No lying, as I say, but also no harsh or divisive speech. These are things. These are qualities that if you keep them, then in spite of yourself, you will improve. You will, if you consistently keep them, in spite of your past, you will improve in the future. So there is a reason for this precept, virtue, keeping the precepts, and it's considered to be a base for everything else. For example, your meditation is not thought to be likely to be of a very high quality, or you will come across many problems if you think that you can meditate while doing whatever you like, as I think happens in some sectors of spirituality. no mention of virtue or ethics at all, just meditate, but that's not going to work unless sila is kept. So that's the second one, virtue. The third one is renunciation, nekkhamma, I think, in Pali, and renunciation is clear, right? There is a certain amount of renunciation just in the precepts, so no sexual misconduct, no alcohol, no drugs, and we have to renounce the delights of samsara, basically, live a simple life, where we are not chasing after sense desires, which are going to make us cling to them, crave and cling. So renunciation is not easy. It extends to delicious food, everything really. In this tradition, the Theravada tradition, food is thought to be something that gives you energy, something that's necessary, but not to be thought about all the time, like all of the sense pleasures, all of the things that arise from the 6 sense bases. So there is also renunciation. Can you renounce? Do you have the parami to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that? A lot of people can't do it, and until you can, you'll never reach the necessary level for enlightenment or to become a Buddha. The next one is wisdom. Now all these qualities go together, and wisdom will arise when all the other factors are satisfied. When you have sila, samadhi, panya will arise, wisdom. So when you have ethics, and when you have the right concentration levels in your meditation, then wisdom will arise automatically. But if you don't keep sila, ethics, and then your meditation practice will not be very good, and so inevitably this means that panya or wisdom will not arise. So you can't just say, I want wisdom to arise. You may want it, but unless you're following the path in all its detail, then panya or wisdom is not likely to arise. So there's a certain amount of interlocking, or a lot of interlocking between these paramis, and you need to be keeping your ethics, and not to be mean, for example, in order for wisdom to arise. But when wisdom does arise, that's when maybe you can see nibbana, or become part of the Arya Sangha, somebody who has seen nibbana at one level or another, maybe only as a stream enterer, but still that means that you only you don't have more than 7 more lives. That's an incredibly important thing. You can leave this life with confidence, and you know that you won't be reborn in the unfortunate realms. So that's 4, wisdom. Number 5 is energy, and this is virya, the right kind of effort. Nobody can do anything without the right kind of effort. So directed effort, which means no laziness. In the Theravada tradition, they don't usually sleep more than 6 hours a day. Anything more than that is usually thought to be laziness. So you don't really need more than 6 hours a day, and meditation is restful in itself if you do it properly. So yeah, directed effort. You need to have directed effort, and in order to do that, you can't be lazy. You can't be wasting your time. So I would call it directed effort. The next one is patient endurance, or khanti in Pali. So especially at the beginning of the path, it's very difficult to show mindfulness all the time and really not care about things that people say to you. Maybe people praise you and your ego gets inflated. Maybe people say bad things to you and you become despondent. Both things are based on ego, really, and what we do when we respond in a positive or negative way is to follow the line of karma, really, follow our craving and clinging. So we don't want to do that, but we're not always strong enough to show mindfulness. So what we have to do is show patient endurance, and then gradually the mindfulness will increase, and the amount we need to show patient endurance will be less. So if somebody says something bad to you and you get angry, usually you shout out and show that you're angry, but if you're showing patient endurance, and nobody will know that you're angry because you keep it inside. But if you continue like that, your mindfulness will grow, and the times when you get angry will be less. The next one is truthfulness, or satya. People need to be truthful. Someone needs to be a person that others can trust. If you're not trustworthy, then you're not of any use to yourself or anybody else. So satya, truthfulness, is also one of the precepts. So you have to tell the truth. You can't be telling lies, or even white lies for good reasons. You can be skillful at with the truth, but you can't tell lies. So everybody respects a truthful person, and there's no way that you can make progress on the path without a certain level of truthfulness, or without being truthful. You can't really talk about a certain level of truthfulness. You have to be truthful. They say that the Buddha, through all his lives, the one he made many mistakes, but the one thing he never did was to tell a lie. So this is the next parami, truthfulness. After that, you need to show great resolve, determination, adhitthana in Pali. So it's clear that this is not an easy path. You need to show quality of perseverance, determination, resolve, keep going under all circumstances, never give up. You will have bad days, don't let them affect you beyond a certain point. Just keep going. Be sure that things will improve if you keep trying. It's when you just give up and don't try anymore that you've lost the plot. So resolve, determination, this is the next parami. After that, the 9th parami is loving kindness, or metta. Most people have heard of this, probably, spreading loving kindness to the whole universe. It's an antidote for ill will, and anger. So instead of allowing ourselves to dwell on our anger and think about how we think we've been hard done by and feel hatred and ill will for those who have, we think, misused us, we need to just accept that it's all karma in the end, and it was all a learning experience, and let it go and forgive. So forgive and have loving kindness. There are special exercises, special meditations which spread loving kindness to the universe, and these are very helpful for the development of this quality. So the last one is equanimity, or upekkha. Upekkha is a very advanced parami, we can say, which falls into place when all the others have gone well. We have to have loving kindness for everyone in the universe and everything in the universe, but we also need to see that certain things are inevitable in samsara, and everybody is the heir to their own karma, so there is only so much we can do. We have to let the karma take its own course sometimes, although we do everything we can to help. Sometimes people will not listen to you, even though what you're saying is the right thing for them to do. They won't listen because of their karma. So what should you do? Should you get angry with them? Should you start shouting at them? Should you say, why are you so silly? Why are you so stupid? You can't see that what I'm saying is for your benefit? No. You have equanimity. So you accept that certain things cannot be changed. We don't live in a perfect place, and everything will work itself out eventually, but it's going to need time. You do what you can to see if everything is ripe at this moment, right now. If it isn't, you accept that probably more parami needs to be built up by the person you are addressing in this case. And there are many things in the universe that just needs to be accepted, really. We cannot change them. There are the things that we can change, the things that we can't change. We work at the things we can change, and the things that we can't change, we just have to accept them. And it takes upekkha, equanimity, to do that. So these are the 10 paramis, and it's not expected that everybody is going to have them full at this time. It's very unusual. It's often said that in certain traditions that you can become enlightened in one lifetime, but I think you can only become enlightened if you have the paramis. So if you fulfill the necessary paramis, then you can become enlightened. If not, then you have to keep working on them in this life and in future lives. So whenever the time comes when you can become enlightened because your paramis are full, it will seem like enlightenment in one lifetime, but in fact it isn't. It's really lifetimes and lifetimes, countless lifetimes that is, from the past until now, which have led to this moment of enlightenment. So these are the paramis, and they're very, very important in Buddhism, and together with other factors like the 7 factors of enlightenment and the 4 noble truths and the links of dependent origination, the Eightfold Noble Path, they really form the core of Buddhism, especially Theravada Buddhism. So thank you for listening.